This is the Astrology Show podcast with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. This is your tarot and astrology for the week starting Monday, the 1st of July. Aries, joining a new group or rethinking the old group in quite a dramatic new way is in your destiny for 2024. This may be a social circle or have a professional angle, a band, a political party, a trade union, or a football team. It's on that level. Pluto in Aquarius is a life changer and a game changer. Thus the need for deep thought this week, as this cycle, Pluto in Aquarius, in your 11th house of friends and groups, has not happened for 248 years. You are building up towards a full moon in August, and then the first of many reshuffles in December, with major choices in January and February next year about this friend or this circle of people. Power and control are major issues, and the lesson this week is that self-control gives you the upper hand. Willpower is the key to pretty much everything. Taurus, you could easily find yourself in a different job by the end of this year, Taurus, or even as late as January, February 2025, a new course or a new phase of your lifestyle. Depending on how committed you are to your own power in the game, or how far others are prepared to negotiate sharing the control with you. In other cases, you may be on the road to partial or full retirement, even acceptable redundancy, or a major reshuffle, which puts you in a different role or in a different career. This is typical of Pluto in Aquarius in the 10th house of your chart. It's historic. And as you're slowly going towards the full moon in Aquarius, you will realize that you need to sign off in December and maybe sign on to a totally new situation early next year, with the main priority being, are you holding the reins? Gemini, you are slowly but surely finding the power in the world of publishing and the World Wide Web, foreign people and places, regional differences and commitments, and academia or informal education. Perhaps everything on that list, Gemini, is tied up in a plan at the front of your mind now. The cycle of Pluto in Aquarius, which I've been talking about a bit in this podcast, is quite rare. It's also quite slow. This cycle in your 9th house lasts for the next 20 years, and you're at the first step. But the steps that you take this week, even if you're taking mental notes, will result in a decision in December, January, February, when you could easily travel or relocate or welcome a foreigner to your shores. In other cases, the end of this year and the start of next year is all about university and college life. All throughout this transit, the main concern is how much control that you have, and the only way to get that is to share it, as you will see in December. Cancer. It's early days yet, Cancer, as Pluto in Aquarius has only just landed. But over the next few years, you will completely transform your finances, lifestyle, security, house, apartment, business, investments, charity, and the rest. This very new transit is already proof that if you want to regain the control, you will have to use self-control. You have gone to extremes with this in 2024, according to your chart. It goes for 20 years, though, so it's early days, as I've said. But adding it up, the full moon in August, and you're ruled by the moon, will bring a bridge to cross. Then that gets you to December, when there will be a change in the balance of power. You also find in January that the South Node leaves your property sector, and that's very important as well. So it looks as though the sequence is August, December, January, February, with a house or apartment in the crosshairs. Leo, this is a big year for duets and double acts of all kinds, with Pluto in Aquarius, marriages and professional partnerships, as it takes two to tango. It also takes two people to have a duel, a feud, or a conflict. The 7th house, where Pluto now is, rules both your pairings and your duals. You have had time to get used to this. Pluto was in Aquarius briefly in 2023 when everything began to change for you. He is here for many more years, so either with this person or maybe more than one, you will be taught about power through power couples, through one against one, or through a situation where you feel that you are so different but so equal. This week is the road to that, as you have a full moon coming up in August and you'll feel it now. Virgo. Pluto in Aquarius tells you that willpower is power with your fitness, your health, well-being, your workload, your duty to others, and your service. Routine labours, no matter how fruitful, are still routine and depend on detail, method, and order. What does this essentially mean to you this week about a January and February 2025 plan? This looks like the kickoff for you. It may be the end of the old job or the start of the new job, or a big decision about your health. Pluto in your sixth house is pretty new. And what you are adjusting to this week is the idea that all the people politics also has to be judged. So from here, you make a chain of decisions, but it will result in you feeling as if you have a lot more control by the time you get to the start of next year. Libra, getting things on a different footing with your children, your young relatives, your godchildren, or with a younger generation as a whole takes time. Pluto in Aquarius, which I'm talking a bit about this week, moves very slowly. You are now making progress in terms of your own control, assuredly, but there are still some sticking points. You have years to work this out, Libra, and yet it looks like January, February is a turning point. The North Node goes out of your marriage, partnership, divorce, and dating zone. That time is very important for you as a turning point. January, February 2025 are already calling, as the karma will be over next year. Then in those 2 months, we see this transit affecting so much to do with children, teenagers, and young adults picked up with a big new decision early next year. All of that is calling to you this week. Scorpio. When you think back to January and February this year, a couple of developments involving your relatives, house, hometown, homeland, apartment or household suggest the start of tests and rewards. The tests involve your willpower and self-control. The rewards spell empowerment. This week you will be updated on all of this. In fact, it looks like early 2025 will bring a major choice about your home, real estate, family, or your household, your town and country. You do stand to gain financially, as until June 2025, there are solutions and opportunities with money or property, thanks to Jupiter in your 8th house. Sagittarius, some of January and February's changes this year involving your plans, projects, or course were a catalyst. This may have been about the internet or old-fashioned communication, YouTube or pens and paper. Other January and February changes were bigger in terms of siblings, neighbours, and cousins, and still have a certain charge about them this week. Now you are updating yourself, and you have about 6 months until the really big decisions start. From December 7, a major deal, agreement, or negotiation, emotionally or for practical reasons, will be on the table with a sibling, neighbour, or cousin. Thanks to the arrival of Ceres in Aquarius, and the road to that begins this week. Capricorn. Having begun 2024, going in a couple of new financial, charity, business, or property directions, you can now stop and ask yourself a few useful questions. The full moon just around the corner in Aquarius makes it necessary anyway. Call it a mid-year stocktake. There is obviously a price tag to hang on what has been on your mind, but there are price tags which are worth it if they make you more powerful, and adding up how much control you have is the answer here, not the numbers. It looks as if January 2025 will sign you off from karma with a house, a relative, an apartment, someone at home, even your town or country. And January is the turning point as the North Node leaves Aries. Aquarius, your name, face, role, title, brand or reputation, perhaps your appearance too, now moves up on the priority list. January and February this year was an interesting start because you took a couple of new paths in that direction of a personal relaunch. One of them was likely about using your own willpower. Nothing more, nothing less. Right now, you're staring down a full moon in Aquarius in just a few weeks. So you are contemplating what you're going to do about your appearance, title, brand, and role. And the timing is right to do that. In fact, from December 7, there will be a deal for you to make with yourself or other people regarding how you're seen. Pisces, if you don't actively make more time and space for yourself or find a way to be alone in peace and quiet, then Pluto in Aquarius may just do it for you. You do have key decisions to make about your religion or spirituality, your rejection of God in favor of science, your trust in the tarot or psychics perhaps, psychologists, counselors or psychiatrists. The bridge to cross is August, and the deal that you make with the other person or yourself is December. Then in January and February next year, the decisions about your inner life, your soul, your spirit, and your psyche that will last will come thick and fast. So this week, you can see why it should be one step at a time right now. In your birth chart, if you have anything in Cancer, the new moon in Cancer on July 5 is a new beginning with your house, garden, apartment, your extended family, your household, town, or country. What starts near July 5 pays off between June 9, 2025 and June 29, 2026. I'll talk more about Cancer, the zodiac sign, and the Cancer new moon in a moment. Babies born this week may acquire a nickname and perhaps a new first or second name in the second half of 2025 and first half of 2026. Even though they are so very young, it is the nickname or name that will stick. Happy birthday if it's your birthday. You shine when you find the right house, garden, or apartment to call your own, and you will be renovating, redecorating, or moving very happily from the second half of next year into the first half of 2026. Famous birthdays this week include Fred Schneider, who is 73 on the 1st of July, Debbie Harry, who is 79 on the same day. Polystyrene would have been 67 on the 3rd of July. Judith Durham would have been 81 on the 3rd of July. And Ringo Starr is 84 on the 7th of July. Your tarot card this week can be decoded at jessicaadams.com. Aries, the Five of Wands. Taurus, the Emperor. Gemini, the World. Cancer, the Ace of Coins. Leo, the Two of Cups. Virgo, Strength. Libra, the Ace of Cups. Scorpio, the Four of Wands. Sagittarius, the Ace of Wands. Capricorn, the Two of Coins. Aquarius, the Magician. And Pisces, Temperance. Fated connections this week are Leo and Libra, both concerned with matters of the heart, no matter if this belongs to the past or the future. The new moon in Cancer takes place on the 5th of July with the sun at 14 Cancer 23 and the moon at 14 Cancer 23. This is a very good new moon for planning, renovations, redecoration, the sale of your house or apartment, or the purchase of one. It is a good new moon for moving back to your hometown, home state, or country. All of this is perfectly timed in the second half of next year. Of course, you can pursue things now, but according to all the laws of astrology, this Jupiter cycle can only deliver in a big way until you reach June 24 and June 25 next year, 2025. This will kick off an incredible 12 months of opportunities not possible in 12 years. It all begins in a small way with a green light on July 5 or close to it this week. It's also time to look at the zodiac sign, Cancer the Crab, in Cancer season and what it means. If you have anything in Cancer in the 4th house of your natal chart, you express yourself through your house, your apartment, and/or your garden. It can challenge you or reward you all your life, but it's who you are. This brings great things to your door in the second half of next year, as discussed, when Jupiter will go through Cancer and slowly but surely form a conjunction with everything that you have in that sign. A good house purchase is a typical example. If you are a Sun Cancer or you know somebody who is, ever since 2008, there have been duets and duels aplenty. One on one and one against one too. But it's always the house and apartment and the family every time, which is the motivation. Around the 7th of December, when we see the last of the Capricorn oppositions of any importance, the final bargaining and negotiation will be done, and Christmas is key. Whatever you have in the zodiac sign of Cancer in your birth chart, anytime that you have oppositions from Capricorn, cycles in the sign of the goat opposite the sign of the crab, you are pushed back. And you are always pushed back on the subject of your house, your apartment, your hometown, your homeland, your family or household. This has been going on for a very long time, ever since 2008. But slowly and surely, it's coming to an end. So let's look at these dates. Around the 21st of July, there's a full moon in Capricorn, so there's a bridge to cross. Around the 3rd of September, Pluto goes back into Capricorn because he's been retrograde. Again, you'll really feel the change in September, October, and November, which is his last gasp in your opposite sign. On the 12th of November, Venus goes into Capricorn, so whatever you have in Cancer is once again opposed. And on the 7th of December, Venus and Ceres leave Capricorn, and then it's over. There will be times when it feels as if it's been a very long football game, with perhaps one property or one family issue lingering longer. In fact, if you do have Cancer factors in your chart, ever since 2008, you have been challenged repeatedly with your sense of home, belonging, clan, and place. It may have been developers in your street, perhaps undesirable tenants or flatmates, maybe government or council decisions about your country which profoundly affected you. A difficult family member or difficulties with a family member is also typical of this long cycle when so many factors were in Capricorn opposite Cancer. And yet everything comes around, and Jupiter goes right across this sign in your chart without anything major in Capricorn blocking you next year. You can double this message about property if you have anything in Taurus in your birth chart. This will be a financial revolution for you, and the issue is your own freedom and independence. So, for example, you may decide to stop renting and build yourself a tiny house. It's on that level. Jupiter going into Cancer is great news if you have anything in Cancer. This begins on Tuesday, the 10th of June, 2025, but by July the 30th, 2026, you will be very pleased with your progress in terms of opportunities that you took to upgrade and update with home, family, hometown, and homeland. It really does go back to the real estate or property market, though, if you have anything in Taurus in your chart. But even if you don't, or you don't know, this general wider transit, which they call Uranus in Taurus, is about ground-shaking changes affecting everything from the banks to mortgages. If your financial affairs, business interests, possessions, or property interests are tied up too much with restrictions and rules, then this Uranus in Taurus transit which only begins to fade in 25-26, really will revolutionize everything. And that's for everybody, as the whole world is going through it, no matter if it's cryptocurrency or taxation. With Taurus and Cancer factors both in your chart, you may also expect to see huge decisions coming about everything from a family trust fund to a legacy that you leave to a legacy that names you. And again, freedom is the key. It's a good time to examine your values before you even get to that point. And July is not a bad time to add up the pros and cons of particular property decisions. If you are actually a Cancerian, you'll gain final karmic closure with the family, the extended family, or even an ancestor on January the 11th, 2025, as the lunar nodes change signs. Now, to end the podcast, here's a prediction for a famous Cancerian, Julian Assange, which just came true. On December the 11th, 2021, I wrote, Julian Assange in 2024 could go home. This discussion online with my fellow psychic, Tara Buffington, used the tarot and 2 oracles. And what we saw was pretty clearly that 2024 was the year. Now, you might have thought a man who had endured his suffering would leave WikiLeaks well alone. But his chart suggests, along with the cards, that Julian has not even started. With WikiLeaks, or quite another network, perhaps a new network, from January and February 2025, he will be well and truly back, and he will be at the heart of the new people power. Pluto in Aquarius and Jupiter in Gemini, then Uranus in Gemini, suggests that far beyond 2030, Julian's legacy will genuinely be freedom of information, capital F and capital I. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you again next week.